The Dron commander watched from his ship as the Valori colony vessel burned slowly in space. He was a large creature with gray skin and 4 yellow eyes. His name was Groth, and he had been hunting weak species for 30 years. The Valori were his favorite targets. They sold well in the slave markets. Their small bodies made them perfect workers for mines and factories where larger species could not fit. "Commander," one of his officers said, "the Valori shields are failing. We can board them in 10 minutes. Groth smiled. His teeth were sharp and black. "Good. Tell the boarding teams to prepare. I want the young ones captured first. They are worth more." He was about to give another order when an alarm sounded on his ship. "What is that?" Groth demanded. "New contacts, Commander. Ships approaching at high speed." "How many?" The officer checked his screen. His face went pale. 12 ships, Commander. They are human." Groth felt cold for the first time in many years. He had heard stories about humans. Every slaver had heard stories. Humans were strange creatures. They were not the strongest or the fastest or the smartest species in the galaxy, but they were Deathworlders. They came from a planet that killed most things that lived there. They were survivors in ways that other species could not understand, and they were very, very violent when they wanted to be. "What are humans doing here?" Groth asked. His voice was not as confident now. "Unknown, Commander. They are not responding to our signals. They are just coming." Groth looked at the burning Valori ship. Then he looked at the human fleet growing larger on his screen. He had 12 ships of his own. The numbers were equal. But numbers did not matter much against Deathworlders. "Pull back," Groth ordered. "We will wait and watch. Maybe they are just passing through." On the horizon, Captain Yuna studied the tactical display. She could see the Valori colony ship, damaged and dying. She could see the drawn fleet surrounding it like wolves around wounded prey. And she could see her own ships moving into position. "Open a channel to the Valori," she ordered. The communication officer worked quickly. "Channel open, Captain." "Valori vessel, this is Captain Yuna of the human warship Horizon. We received your distress signal. We are here to help. Please respond." For a long moment, there was only static. Then a shaky voice came through the speakers. "This is Ambassador Keth. You are really human?" "Yes, we are human. What is your situation?" "We are badly damaged. Many wounded. The Dron have been attacking us for hours. We thought we were going to die." Yuna heard the fear and relief mixed together in Keth's voice. She had heard that sound before. It was the sound of someone who had given up hope and then found it again. "You are not going to die today," Yuna said firmly. "My ships will protect you. I am sending medical teams and engineers to help your vessel. Do we have permission to board?" Another pause. Keth was probably scared. Humans had a terrible reputation. Letting them on board was a risk. But what choice did he have? "Yes," Keth said finally. "You have permission." "Good. Hold tight. Help is coming." Yuna turned to her crew. "Teho, take your medical team to the Valori ship. Anna, bring your engineers. I want that ship stable." Teho was the chief medic. He was a young man with kind eyes and gentle hands. He had joined the military to save lives, not take them. He nodded and gathered his team. Hana was the chief engineer. She was a woman with oil stains on her uniform and tools always in her pockets. She could fix almost anything. She nodded too and started giving orders to her people. Within minutes, shuttles left the horizon and flew toward the Valori ship. The Dron fleet watched but did not attack. They were waiting to see what would happen. When the shuttles docked with the Wandering Light, Keth was there to meet them. He stood in the damaged docking bay with a group of frightened Valori behind him. His forearms were folded across his chest. His compound eyes watched the shuttle doors with a mix of fear and hope. The doors opened, Humans stepped out. Keth had imagined monsters. He had imagined creatures with blood on their teeth and murder in their eyes. He had imagined the Deathworlders from all the terrible stories he had heard. Instead, he saw a young man with a gentle smile carrying a medical bag. He saw a woman with messy hair and a tool belt around her waist. He saw soldiers who held their weapons down and did not point them at anyone. He saw humans who looked tired and worried, and kind. Taiho walked forward slowly. He did not want to scare the Valori. He had read about them quickly on the way over. He knew they were fragile, that they feared larger species, that they had never met humans before. Ambassador Keth? He asked softly. Keth nodded. He could not speak. This was not what he expected. I am Taiho. I am a doctor. Where are you wounded? Keth found his voice. In the lower decks. Many of them. The explosions. The fires. Show me. Keth led Taiho and his team through the ship. What they found broke the young medic's heart. Valori with burned wings. Valori with broken limbs. Valori children crying in corners while their parents tried to comfort them. Taiho got to work immediately. He moved from patient to patient, treating wounds with gentle hands. He spoke softly to each Valori, telling them they were safe now, telling them everything would be okay. His team spread out through the ship, helping everyone they could find at the same time. Hannah and her engineers attacked the ship's problems. They sealed hull breaches. They repaired life support systems. They put out fires and fixed broken power lines. Hannah crawled through tight spaces that were not made for humans, cutting her arms and legs on sharp metal, but she did not stop. Keth watched all of this with growing amazement. These were the monsters from the stories. These were the terrifying Deathworlders that every species feared. He watched Taiho hold a dying elder's hand and speak comfort to her until she passed peacefully. He watched Hannah work for hours without rest, her face covered in sweat and soot, never complaining. He watched human soldiers carry Valori children to safety, their big hands holding the small bodies so carefully, so gently. I do not understand, Keth said finally. He was standing next to Taiho, who was taking a short break to drink water. You are humans. You are Deathworlders. Why are you helping us? Taiho looked at him. Why would we not help you? Because you do not know us. We have nothing to offer you. We are weak and small and useless. Why would Deathworlders care about us? Taiho was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled sadly. On Earth, where we come from, there is a saying, the strong should protect the weak. It is not always true. Humans are not always good. We have done terrible things in our history, but many of us believe that strength means nothing if you do not use it to help others. He looked at the Valori around them. You are weak. You say you are small, but you have children here. You have families. You have people who love each other and want to live. How is that different from us? Keth did not have an answer. Besides, Taiho added with a small laugh, we are not as scary as the stories say. Most of the time, we just want to help. Outside the ship, the drawn fleet still waited. Commander Groth watched the humans work on the Valori vessel. He saw the shuttles going back and forth. He saw the Valori ship slowly stabilize. He should attack now, he thought. He should destroy both ships while he had the chance. But something held him back. Fear, maybe, or caution. Humans were unpredictable. Humans were dangerous in ways that made no sense. So Groth waited. He would see what happened next. And then he would make his move. On the wandering light, the Valori began to hope again. The fires were out. The wounded were being treated. The strange, terrifying Deathworlders were saving their lives, one gentle action at a time. Keth stood on the bridge and looked out at the stars. The human warship Horizon hung in space nearby, its weapons ready, its crew alert. They were protecting strangers. They were fighting for people they had never met. Maybe the stories were wrong, Keth thought. Maybe humans were not monsters at all, or maybe they were monsters. But maybe monsters could choose to be good. The emergency lights inside the Valori colony ship flashed red and orange. Alarms screamed through every corridor. Ambassador Keth pressed his thin, insect-like body against the wall as another explosion shook the vessel. His forearms trembled. His compound eyes reflected the chaos around him. "We are going to die," whispered Elder Vos beside him. The old Valori's wings were too damaged to fly anymore. He could only crawl. "The raiders have found us again." Keth did not answer. He knew Vos was right. The Valori were not fighters. They were scholars, artists, and farmers. Their bodies were fragile. Their bones were hollow. A single punch from most species could kill them. They had survived in the galaxy by hiding, by running, by being too small and too weak to notice. But the Drawn had noticed them. The Drawn were slavers. They captured weak species and sold them across the galaxy. The Valori were perfect targets, small, fragile, easy to control. The Drawn had been hunting this colony ship for 3 weeks now. "Send another distress signal," Keth ordered. His voice was calm even though his heart beat fast. "Send it to everyone. Someone must hear us." The communication officer, a young Valori named Pix, worked quickly at his station. His thin fingers moved across the controls. "Ambassador, I am sending the signal now. But we are in a remote sector. The nearest known fleet is. Pix stopped talking. His compound eyes went wide. "What is it?" Keth asked. "The nearest fleet. They are humans." The bridge went silent. Even the alarms seemed quieter for a moment. Every Valori knew about humans. Every species in the galaxy knew about humans, thought they came from Earth. A death world. A planet where everything was dangerous. The gravity was crushing. The weather was violent. The animals were deadly. And somehow, humans had survived there. They had evolved there. They had become the apex predators of a world that tried to kill them every single day. Humans were. Deathworlders thought the stories about them spread across every corner of known space. Humans could survive injuries that would kill any other species. They could run for hours without stopping. They bonded with dangerous animals and called them pets. They ate plants that were poison to others. They drank alcohol for fun. They fought wars against each other for thousands of years and still did not go extinct. They were monsters. "We cannot ask humans for help," Elder Vos said quickly. "They will kill us. They will eat us. They are worse than the Drawn." "We do not know that," Keth replied. "We have never met humans. We only know the stories. The stories are enough." Another explosion cut off Vos's words. The ship tilted hard to one side. Keth grabbed the wall to keep himself from falling. Through the viewport, he could see the Drawn ships circling closer. Their weapons glowed as they prepared another attack. They had minutes left. Maybe less. Keth made his decision. "Send the signal to the humans," he ordered. "Ambassador!" Vos protested. "We are dead anyway," Keth said. His voice was steady now. "If the humans are truly monsters, then we lose nothing. But if the stories are wrong, if there is even a small chance they will help us." He looked at the Drawn ships outside. He thought about the thousands of Valori on this colony ship. Families, children, elders who had seen too much already. Young ones who deserved to see more. "Send the signal," Keth repeated. "Let the Deathworlders hear us." Pix nodded. His fingers shook as he entered the command. The distress signal launched into space, carrying with it the desperate hope of a dying species far away, in the darkness between stars. A human warship called the Horizon moved through space on a routine patrol. It was a large vessel, built for combat but currently at peace. The crew was relaxed. Some played cards in the recreation room. Others exercised in the gym. A few slept in their bunks. Captain Yuna sat in her chair on the bridge. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and short black hair. She had been a soldier for 15 years. She had seen battles, made hard choices, and lost friends. But she had never lost her belief that the strong should protect the weak. She was reading a report on her datapad when the communication officer spoke. "Captain, we are receiving a distress signal." Yuna looked up. "From who?" "Unknown species. They identify themselves as Valuri. I have no records of previous contact with them." "What does the message say?" The officer played the audio. Keth's voice filled the bridge, translated by the ship's computer. The fear in his words was clear even through the translation. "This is Ambassador Keth of the Valuri colony ship Wandering Light. We are under attack by drone raiders. We have civilians on board. Families, children. We cannot fight. We cannot run. Please, if anyone hears this, please help us. We are begging you." The message ended. The bridge was quiet. Yuna stood from her chair. She walked to the main viewport and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, a ship full of innocent people was dying. They were strangers. They were not human. They were not part of any alliance or treaty, but they were asking for help. "Navigation," Yuna said. "How far to the signal's origin?" 40 minutes at maximum speed, Captain." Yuna nodded. "Set course." "Maximum speed." "Captain," the first officer said carefully. He was a tall man named Day One with a calm voice. "We have no information about this species. We do not know the situation. The drawn unknown slavers with a large fleet. This could be dangerous." "It is dangerous," Yuna agreed. "That is why they need help. Some officers might say this is not our problem." Yuna turned to face him. Her eyes were hard but not angry. "Those officers can file a complaint when we get back. Right now, someone is asking for help, and we are close enough to give it. That is enough for me." Day One smiled slightly. He had served with Yuna for 5 years. He knew she would say that. He also knew he would follow her anywhere. "Setting course," the navigation officer announced. "We will arrive in 38 minutes. "Good," Yuna said. She pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands, this is the captain. We have received a distress signal from a civilian ship under attack. We are moving to assist. Battle stations. I want everyone ready." Throughout the horizon, the crew moved. Soldiers grabbed their weapons. Pilots ran to their fighters. Medics prepared the medical bay. Engineers checked every system. They did not know who the Valuri were. They did not know what they would find. But their captain had given an order, and they trusted her. Back on the Wandering Light, the Valuri waited for death. The drawn ships moved closer. Their weapons fired again and again. The colony ship shook and groaned. Fires burned in the lower decks. Air leaked from cracks in the hull. Keth held a young Valuri child in his arms. The child was crying. Keth hummed an old song his mother had taught him, a song about hope and stars and finding home. He did not know if anyone had heard their signal. He did not know if help was coming. But he held that child and hummed that song because it was all he could do. And somewhere in the darkness of space, 38 minutes away, the Deathworlders were coming. 6 hours passed. The Valuri ship was no longer dying. The fires were out. The hull was patched. The life support systems hummed steadily. In the medical bay, Taiho and his team had treated over 200 wounded Valuri. 30 had died before help arrived, but many more had been saved. Captain Yuna stood on the bridge of the horizon, watching the tactical display. The Dran fleet had pulled back. but they had not left. They were waiting at the edge of the system, 12 ships floating in the darkness like sharks circling a wounded fish. "They will come back," said Day One. He stood beside Yuna, his arms crossed. "The Drawn never give up a hunt." "I know," Yuna replied. "But we needed time to help the Valuri. We bought that time. What happens now?" Yuna thought for a moment. "We escort the Valuri to safety. There is a neutral station 3 days from here. They can get repairs and supplies there. Maybe find an alliance to protect them. And if the Drawn attack during the journey, then we fight." Day One nodded. He had expected that answer. Yuna was not the type to run from battle. She was not the type to abandon people who needed help. A communication alert sounded on the bridge. The officer on duty looked up with concern on his face. "Captain, we are receiving a transmission from the Drawn fleet." "Put it through." The main screen flickered. Commander Groth's face appeared. His gray skin was rough like stone. His 4 yellow eyes stared at Yuna with a mixture of anger and curiosity. When he spoke, his voice was deep and cold. "Human Captain, I am Commander Groth of the Drawn hunting fleet. You have interfered with our lawful hunt." Yuna raised an eyebrow. "Lawful? You are attacking a civilian ship full of refugees. The Valuri are prey. They have always been prey. The strong take from the weak. This is the law of the galaxy. You should know this better than anyone, Deathworlder." Yuna felt a flash of anger, but she kept her voice calm. "We do not follow your laws, Commander. And we do not abandon people who ask for help." Groth laughed. It was an ugly sound. "You think you are heroes? You think you are saving them? You are only delaying the end. The Valuri belong to us now. They entered our hunting grounds. They are our property. They are not property. They are people. They are weak. That makes them prey. That is the only truth that matters." Yuna stepped closer to the screen. Her eyes were hard like iron. "Let me tell you a truth, Commander. Humans may be Deathworlders. We may come from a violent planet. We may have a history full of blood and war. But we also have another side. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. We stand up for those who are knocked down. And we do not tolerate bullies." Groth's smile faded. "You dare threaten me?" "I am not threatening you. I am informing you. The Valuri are under our protection now. If you want them, you will have to go through us. And I promise you, Commander, that is not a fight you want to start." The bridge was silent. Everyone watched the screen, waiting to see what Groth would do. For a long moment, the Drawn commander said nothing. His yellow eyes moved slowly, studying Yuna's face, looking for weakness. He found none. "You are brave," Groth said finally. "Or stupid? I cannot decide which. But it does not matter. We have 12 ships. You have 12 ships. Perhaps you think the numbers are equal. But you are wrong." He leaned forward. "I have called for reinforcements. 20 more ships are on their way. They will arrive in 4 hours. When they do, I will destroy you and take the Valuri anyway. Your protection means nothing." Yuna did not blink. "Then I guess we have 4 hours to prepare." Groth laughed again. "Prepare all you want, human. It will not save you." The screen went dark. Day One let out a breath. 32 ships against 12. Those are bad odds. "Yes," Yuna agreed. "They are. What do we do?" Yuna was quiet for a moment. Then she pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands, this is the captain. The Drawn have called for reinforcements. In 4 hours, we will face a fleet almost 3 times our size. I will not lie to you. This will be a hard fight. Some of us may not survive." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "But there is a ship full of innocent people behind us. Families, children, elders who have already suffered too much. They came to us for help. They trusted us to protect them. And I believe that trust is sacred. I believe that when someone asks for help, you give it. No matter the cost. Her voice grew stronger. The Drown think we are weak because we care about others. They think compassion is a flaw. They are wrong. Our compassion is our strength. It is what makes us human. And today, we will show them what humans are capable of. She stood tall. Prepare for battle. Trust your training. Trust each other. And remember why we fight. Not for glory. Not for money. But because it is the right thing to do. She ended the transmission. Across the fleet, humans moved with purpose. Pilots climbed into their fighters. Gunners took their positions. Engineers double-checked every system. Medics prepared for casualties. On the Valuri ship, Keth heard the announcement through the communication system. His heart sank. They are going to die for us, he whispered. These humans are going to die because they answered our call. Elder Voss was beside him. The old Valuri's eyes were wet. Maybe we should surrender. Maybe we should give ourselves to the Drawn. It would save them. No, said a voice. They turned. Tejo stood in the doorway of the bridge. He looked tired. There was blood on his uniform from treating so many wounded. But his eyes were clear and determined. No one is surrendering, Tejo said. We did not come here to give you to the slavers. We came here to save you. And that is what we are going to do. But you will die, Keth protested. There are too many of them. Tejo smiled. It was a strange smile, full of warmth and sadness at the same time. Maybe, or maybe we will surprise everyone. Humans are good at that. How can you be calm? How can you face death and smile? Tejo thought for a moment. Because I know why I am here. I know what I am fighting for. And that gives me peace. Even if I die today, I will die doing something good. Something right. That is enough for me. Keth stared at him. He had never met anyone like this. The Valuri ran from danger. They hid from threats. They survived by being invisible. But humans faced danger head-on. They ran toward fire instead of away from it, Dodd. It was terrifying. And it was beautiful. Is there anything we can do? Keth asked. We cannot fight. We cannot help in battle. But there must be something. Tejo nodded. Keep your people calm. Take care of each other. And when this is over, remember us. Tell the galaxy what happened here. Tell them that humans came when you called. Tell them that the Deathworlders answered. He turned to leave, then stopped. An ambassador? Thank you for trusting us. I know it was hard. I know we are scary. But you gave us a chance to prove who we really are. That means more than you know. Then he was gone, heading back to prepare for battle. Keth stood alone on the bridge. Outside the viewports, he could see the human fleet forming into battle lines. 12 ships against 32. Bad odds. Impossible odds. But the humans were not running. They were not hiding. They were standing their ground, ready to fight and die for strangers. Keth had never believed in the old Valuri gods. He had always thought prayer was foolish. But now, watching those human ships, he closed his eyes and whispered a prayer for the first time in his life. Please, he said to whatever might be listening, let them live. Let the Deathworlders survive. They deserve better than this. And somewhere in the cold darkness of space, the enemy fleet grew closer. The drawn reinforcements arrived on schedule. 20 more ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and joined Commander Groth's fleet. Now 32 warships faced the 12 human vessels. The odds were almost 3 to 1. Groth smiled as he watched his fleet form into attack formation. This would be easy. The humans were outnumbered. They had nowhere to run. And behind them, The Valori ship waited like a prize to be claimed. "All ships, prepare to attack," Groth ordered. "Destroy the human fleet. Then take the Valori." The Dron fleet moved forward. Their weapons powered up. Their shields glowed with energy. They looked unstoppable dot on the horizon. Captain Yuna watched them come. Her face was calm, but her mind was racing. She had fought many battles in her life. She had faced bad odds before, but never odds this bad. "Tactical officer, report," she said. Sung-Min was at his station. He was a thin man with quick eyes and a brilliant mind for strategy. He had studied the Dron fleet during the 4 hours of waiting. Now he knew their weaknesses. "The Dron ships are powerful but slow," Sung-Min explained. "They rely on overwhelming force. They charge straight at their enemies and crush them with numbers. They are not used to enemies who fight differently." "So we fight differently," Yuna said. "Yes, Captain. If we use our speed and maneuverability, we can outflank them. Hit and run tactics. Strike fast, retreat, strike again. Their larger ships cannot turn quickly enough to catch us. And the Valori ship? We keep 3 ships on defense. The rest attack. We need to be aggressive. If we wait, they will surround us." Yuna nodded. It was a risky plan, but it was the only plan that had any chance of working. "All ships," she announced over the fleet communication channel. "This is the captain. Execute Battle Plan Delta. Defense team, protect the Valori. Attack team, follow my lead. Today, we show the Dron what Deathworlders can do." The human fleet split into 2 groups. 3 ships stayed behind to guard the wandering light. The other 9, led by the Horizon, shot forward at full speed toward the enemy. Groth laughed when he saw the humans charging. "Fools. They are outnumbered and they attack? They are either very brave or very stupid." But his laughter died when the battle began. The human ships did not fight like any enemy Groth had seen before. They moved like dancers, spinning and weaving between the drawn vessels. They struck from unexpected angles. They hit weak points in the enemy shields. And they were fast. So fast, the Horizon led the attack. Yuna stood on the bridge, calling out orders with rapid precision. "Hard left, fire on that cruiser. Now right, target the weapons array. Full speed ahead, punch through their line." Her crew responded instantly. Pilot G1's hands flew across the controls, steering the ship through a maze of enemy fire. Gunners hit their targets with deadly accuracy. Engineers kept the shields up, and the engines running. Sung-Min watched the tactical display, calling out enemy movements. 3 ships trying to flank us on the right. 2 more coming from above. "Fighter Squadron 2, intercept the flankers," Yuna ordered. "Squadron 3, take the ones above." Human fighter pilots launched from the carriers. Small, fast ships piloted by the bravest men and women in the fleet. They swarmed around the larger drawn vessels like angry hornets. Pilot Byra led Fighter Squadron 2. She was young, only 23, with a grin that never faded even in the worst situations. Her fighter twisted and rolled through enemy fire, getting closer and closer to the drawn cruiser. "Target in sight," she reported. Firing missiles. The missiles struck the cruiser's engine section. A massive explosion ripped through the ship. It drifted, dead in space, as Bara and her squadron flew past. "One down," she laughed. "Who wants the next one?" The battle raged across the system. Human ships attacked and retreated, attacked and retreated. They never stayed in one place long enough for the Dron to target them properly. They used the enemy's size against them, slipping through gaps in their formation and striking from behind. Groth's confidence began to crack. How are they doing this? He demanded. "They are outnumbered. They should be dying. The humans fight like nothing I've ever seen," one of his officers reported. They are too fast, too unpredictable. We cannot pin them down. Then use more ships. Overwhelm them. But overwhelming the humans was harder than it sounded. Every time the Dron tried to concentrate their forces, the humans slipped away. Every time the Dron chased one ship, 3 others attacked from a different direction. Meanwhile, the human Marines were preparing for Phase 2 of the plan. Sergeant Hyan Su stood in the boarding shuttle, surrounded by his team. They were the assault team, trained for close combat. Their mission was to board Groth's command ship and disable it. Everyone ready? Hyan Su asked. His team nodded. They were nervous, but determined. Marines were not afraid of death. They were afraid of failing their mission. The shuttle launched from the horizon during a moment of chaos. It was small enough to avoid the enemy sensors. It flew through the battlefield, dodging debris and explosions, until it reached Groth's command ship. Docking now, the pilot announced. Good luck, Sergeant. The shuttle slammed into the side of the Dron vessel. The Marines cut through the hull and poured inside. What followed was brutal. The Dron soldiers were bigger than humans. They were stronger, but they were not prepared for human ferocity. Hyan Su and his team fought with everything they had. They moved through the ship like ghosts, clearing corridors and taking down enemies. Dron soldiers fell one by one. They had expected easy prey. They found Deathworlders instead. Moving to engineering, Hyan Su reported. We are going to disable their main power. Copy that, Yuna replied. Make it fast. We cannot hold out forever. It was true. Despite their tactics, the human fleet was taking damage. Ships were losing shields. Some had hull breaches. The defense team protecting the Villuri ship was under heavy assault, but they kept fighting. Because that was what humans did. On the bridge of Groth's ship, panic was spreading. The commander watched his tactical display with growing horror. His ships were being destroyed. His soldiers were being killed. And now there were humans on his own vessel. Commander, we have boarders in Section 7. They are heading for engineering. Stop them. Send every soldier we have. But it was too late. Hyan Su's team reached the engineering deck. A brief, violent fight followed. When it was over, the Dron defenders were dead, and Hyan Su's team controlled the power core. Shutting down main power now, Hyan Su announced. Groth's ship went dark. Every system failed. The great vessel drifted helplessly, its weapons silent, its shields gone. The Dron fleet saw their command ship go dark. Confusion spread through their ranks. Without their leader, they did not know what to do. Why UNA saw the opportunity. All ships, full attack. Push them back. The human fleet surged forward with renewed energy. They hit the disorganized Dron fleet with everything they had. Without Groth's orders, the slavers began to retreat. One ship fled, then another, then more. Within an hour, the battle was over. The Dron fleet scattered into the darkness of space, leaving behind 20 destroyed ships. The remaining 12 fled at maximum speed, too scared to look back. On the horizon, cheers erupted across every deck. Soldiers hugged each other. Pilots laughed with relief. Even the usually calm Day One allowed himself a small smile. We did it, he said. We actually did it. Yuna sat in her captain's chair, exhausted but satisfied. They had lost 2 ships in the battle. Good people had died, but thousands of Villuri were safe now. The slavers were gone. It was worth it, she thought. It was worth everything. Sergeant Hyan Su, she called over the communication channel. Status report. We have Commander Groth in custody, Hyan Su replied. He was hiding in a storage closet. What should we do with him? Yuna thought for a moment. Bring him to the brig. He will face justice for his crimes. Yes, Captain. Outside the viewport, the stars were quiet again. The battle was over. The Deathworlders had won. The day after the battle, the Wandering Light and the human fleet traveled together toward the neutral station. The journey would take 3 days. For the first time in weeks, the Valori could rest without fear. Ambassador Keth walked through his ship and saw something he had not seen in a long time. His people were smiling. Children played in the corridors again. Elders sat together and told stories. Families shared meals and laughter, all because of the humans. The repairs continued. Hannah and her engineers worked alongside Valori technicians, teaching them how to fix the more damaged systems. Tejo and the medical team cared for the remaining wounded. Every day, the ship grew stronger, but Keth could not stop thinking about what had happened. The humans had come to help strangers. They had fought against impossible odds. They had died to protect people they had never met. It made no sense to him. It went against everything he understood about the galaxy. On the second day of the journey, he asked Captain Yuna for a meeting. She agreed immediately. The meeting took place on the horizon, in the captain's private office. It was a small room with a desk, some chairs, and a window that looked out at the stars. Yuna sat behind her desk. Keth sat across from her, his forearms folded nervously. "Thank you for seeing me, Captain," Keth began. "Of course. What can I do for you, Ambassador?" Keth struggled to find the right words. There were so many questions in his mind. So many things he did not understand. Why? He finally asked, "That is what I cannot understand. Why did you help us?" Yuna leaned back in her chair. "You sent a distress signal. You needed help. We were close enough to respond. But that is not enough. Species do not help each other for such simple reasons. There is always a cost. There is always something wanted in return. What do you want from us?" Yuna smiled softly. "Nothing? Nothing? You lost 2 ships. You lost people. You risked your entire fleet. And you want nothing? Ambassador, I understand your confusion. The galaxy can be a cruel place. Most species only think about themselves. They take what they want and leave others to suffer. I know this. I have seen it many times." She paused, looking out the window at the stars. "But humans are different. Not always. Not every human. We have our own history of cruelty and selfishness. We have made terrible mistakes. But somewhere along the way, we also learned something important. We learned that helping others is its own reward. We learned that compassion makes us stronger, not weaker." Keth listened carefully. Her words were strange, but beautiful. "Your people needed help," Yuna continued. "You were frightened. You were dying. And you reached out to us, even though you feared us. That took courage. How could I ignore that? How could I fly away and leave you to suffer? But we are weak," Keth said. "We are prey, as the Dron said. We have nothing to offer you." Yuna shook her head. "That is where you are. You say you are weak, but weakness is not a crime. You say you are prey, but being hunted does not make you worthless. Every life has value, Ambassador. Every person deserves protection. That is what I believe. That is what my crew believes." She leaned forward, her eyes meeting Keth's compound eyes directly. The Dron measure value by strength. They believe the strong deserve to rule and the weak deserve to serve. But that philosophy leads only to suffering. It creates a galaxy full of fear and pain. Humans reject that. We believe the strong should lift up the weak, not crush them. Keth felt something shift inside him. All his life, he had believed the Valori were nothing. He had believed his people were weak and worthless, destined to be victims forever. But this human was telling him something different. She was telling him that his people mattered. "What do you want us to do now?" Keth asked. "We have nowhere to go. Our home was destroyed years ago. We have been wandering ever since. Una thought for a moment. There is a human alliance in this sector. Many species have joined us. We protect each other. We trade. We share knowledge. If you want, I can introduce you to our diplomats. The Valori could join our alliance. Would they accept us? We are not fighters. We cannot contribute to your military. An alliance is not just about fighting. Your people are scholars and artists, yes? You have knowledge and culture to share. You have skills that others might not have. And honestly, we do not want every species to be fighters. We want diversity. We want different perspectives. That is what makes an alliance strong. Keth considered this. It was a risk. Joining an alliance meant trusting others. The Valori had trusted before and been betrayed. But these humans, they had proven themselves. They had bled for strangers. I must discuss this with my elders, Keth said. I cannot decide alone. Of course. Take all the time you need. Keth stood to leave, but he stopped at the door. There was one more thing he needed to say. Captain Una, I want you to know that you have changed everything for my people. Before you came, we believed we were alone in a hostile galaxy. We believed no one cared about us. But you showed us that kindness still exists. You showed us that there are good people among the stars. He paused, struggling with emotion. I will tell my children about this day. I will tell them about the humans who answered our call. I will tell them that when we were dying and desperate, the Deathworlders came. Not to hurt us, not to conquer us, but to save us. That story will be passed down for generations. Una stood and walked around her desk. She stopped in front of Keth and, very gently, placed her hand on one of his thin arms. Tell him something else too, she said softly. Tell them that the galaxy is changing. Tell them that they do not have to be afraid anymore. And tell them that whenever they need help, they can call the humans. We will answer. Keth felt tears forming in his compound eyes. It was not a Valori reaction. He had learned it from watching the humans over the past days. But somehow, it felt right. Thank you, Captain. Thank you for everything. He left the office and returned to the Wandering Light. That night, he gathered the elders and told them about the alliance. They talked for hours. There were fears and concerns, as expected. But in the end, they voted yes. The Valori would join the human alliance. 3 days later, the fleet arrived at the neutral station. Diplomats were waiting to meet them. Papers were signed. Agreements were made. And a small, fragile species that had been running for years finally found a home. Captain Una watched from the horizon as the Valori ship docked at the station. Her mission was complete. It was time to return to regular patrols. Day 1 stood beside her on the bridge. What now, Captain? Now we go back to work. The galaxy is big. There are always people who need help. Do you think the Valori will be okay? Una smiled. I think they will be more than okay. I think they will surprise everyone. She turned to face her crew. Good people. Brave people. People who had risked everything because it was the right thing to do. All right, everyone. Set course for home. We have earned some rest. The horizon turned away from the station and flew back into the darkness of space. Behind them, the Valori began their new life. Somewhere out there, the drawn survivors nursed their wounds and told terrified stories about the Deathworlders who had crushed them. And across the galaxy, the story spread. A small species had sent a desperate SOS. They had sent it to the wrong fleet. They had sent it to the monsters, the killers, the Deathworlders. And the Deathworlders had answered not with violence, not with cruelty, but with kindness, with sacrifice, with hope because that was what humans did, And somewhere among the stars, a Valori child asked his father about the humans. The father smiled and told him the story. He told him about the day the Deathworlders came. He told him about Captain Yuna and Tejo and Hana and all the others. He told him that the monsters were not really monsters at all, they were heroes. And whenever someone needed help, the heroes would come, because that was the promise of the Deathworlders. That was the gift they gave to the galaxy. Hope.